Hi there, De-Crypt back again with another video today on the 16th of April 2018. Let's see, in the last video I spoke about interesting development, what happened over the weekend of what was it, from the weekend from the 7th to the 10th, I think it was, to the 9th. That was the 7th was let me just check quickly, the 7th was a Saturday, and the 9th was a Monday morning. That's right. Okay. Well, I got this friend of mine who told me about this, what he would call a pretty consistent trend with the Bitcoin price lately, is that over a weekend the price would be theoretically left to us private investors, the smaller investors, not the banks, not Wall Street, not the institutional investors. Anyway, what was happening is on a late Friday or Saturday morning, the price was allowed, because the big bankers and the big traders weren't taking part. They were closed. The stock exchanges are closed. Because they weren't taking part, the price of Bitcoin was allowed to be, call it organic, and that is natural, real, and what it would normally be if the bankers, the institutional investors and that weren't there to use their big money to manipulate the price. So what was happening is that late on a Friday or a Saturday morning, the price would suddenly just shoot up, and over the course of the weekend you would see a steady rise in the price, and then come Monday morning, bang, the price would be brought right down, and well, not as low, but substantial drop, and we'd start all over again. And then we'd get some, what I predicted was we'd see some steady movement over the coming week after that, steady movement up anyway, and come Friday we should see that rise, and after the weekend we'll see that fall again. You're quite welcome to go to my previous video and see what I said about that. But an interesting thing happened, exactly as I said it would. From Monday morning, the price took its plunge, as my friend said it would, and then I predicted that we'd get this steady rise, which we got, until late Friday or Saturday morning, and then we'd see a spike in the price. But take a look what happened on Thursday. Now, for something like this to happen, there has to be some significant money coming into the market. With the price of Bitcoin so low at the moment, we know that the weak hands, the sellers, are pretty much weeded out at the moment. Those that have Bitcoin now are holding it. They know the price is going to go higher, a lot higher, and they're not selling. And the only way to get the weaker of the strong hands to part with their Bitcoin right now is to pay them substantially more than what the market value is right now. And I think this is what it reflects. It's the only explanation I can come up with. Somebody somewhere wanted a fair amount of Bitcoin, and going to the exchanges and putting in an order for a substantial amount of Bitcoin can only have one effect on the price when there are no sellers. It's going to chase the price up, and that's exactly what it did. It shot up, and over Friday we saw a steady rise, as I would imagine you see the small drop here is probably due to the sudden rise in price. Some people thought, well, time to take some profits. That was a decent rise. Take some profits. We had a small sell-off, and the buying carried on. If you look at the volume chart here, apart from that one massive volume candle where the price shot up, you get the red bar graph, is where the sell-off happened, and then we go to a fairly decent volume, much higher than previously, much higher than it was the previous few days, and the price steadily increases. And that tells me that these people were still buying, although maybe not in huge quantities. They were still buying, and the price was steadily going up. Now, that was the 12th, where there's the 13th. Now on Friday, we still got that spike. As you can see, there's a decent spike in volume. Nothing like the one that happened on Thursday, but it's definitely above the average. And we saw the Friday spike in volume. Now that was on the 13th. That was on, let's just make sure, the 13th was a Friday. So we had the spike in volume on the Friday. I'm not sure what time it was. It was probably, I've got a 1 hour chart here, so that it was within an hour, 9 o'clock in the morning. So although that was 9 o'clock my time. Anyway, it's a Friday, and yeah, we still see a steady, but not substantial rise, but a steady rise with another decent little spike in price. And that was 9 o'clock in the morning, and this happened at 10 o'clock at night, my time. Back down again, a nice decent slam. Now, if you look at this, the Friday spike and the Friday night, my time, slam down again, it is exactly the same as what happened the previous weekend, with it coming down not quite as low as where it started the weekend, but in fact this case was all the same day. But then over the weekend we saw a steady rise in price. And this morning, it is now Monday morning my time, and look what we have here. Exactly the same, although in a much smaller time frame. Exactly the same formation again. We had the sudden spike, rise in price. That was on the 15th. That was last night for me. And here we go this morning. Bam. Sudden knockdown. And as you can see there, it's not quite as low as the highs. So, one other thing I want to show you as well is, let me just get this all smaller. I need to put this on a 4-hour chart. Let me get it smaller for you. Take a look at what has happened. If you remember in a previous video, I drew this flag, if you'd like to call it that. What has happened now? This was the Bitcoin price. I drew this flag over the entire life history of Bitcoin, basically, as well as the Fibonacci retracement that you see here. It's also over the life of Bitcoin so far. But what's interesting is the flag, the price has stayed inside this flag, and as it got into the sharp point of the flag, the end of the flag, and pressure started to build, there was only two ways it can go, obviously. Either break out up or break out down. And now we see it has broken out decently on the upside. Now, the big question is, what is it going to do from here? Are we going to see a little bit of a rise and then a huge sell-off again? My prediction is, last time I speculated on what was going to happen, I said we might still have a sell-off, and we might drop down below it was $5,000 odd. It doesn't look like that is going to happen now, but what might still happen is, if you extend this line, let's just take it up there, it doesn't really matter. If you extend this line, what might still happen is that, let me just get a drawing tool here. Trend line. What might still happen now is, if this price carries on and there is a lot of news about huge institutional buyers looking to buy into Bitcoin at the moment. We're talking about the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and so on, and George Soros, the whole lot. They've all announced that they want to get into Bitcoin. Now, they're not going to get into Bitcoin for a couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000. These players have huge money. And this is what I suspect has happened on Thursday. Somewhere along the line, somebody with a lot of money has tried to get in, and they've seen what has happened to the price, and that is why we've had this little bit of a dip all of a sudden. But what I think is going to happen now, the price of Bitcoin from here might eventually come back down to test this trend line. And whatever happens there, I think is going to determine where we're going after that. So we might still see a significant price rise, but I think we might still come down to test this line. And if we do not break this line, it will eventually break up, and then I think we are going to, as they say in over here, it's going to head for the hills. I think the price is going to spike from there. But I think we've still got a little bit of consolidation, a little bit of manipulation going to be happening here, definitely. I know one of the other guys that I follow on YouTube with his videos, JSnip, he spoke of somebody contacting him. We don't know who it is, but these people wanted to know from him where they could get a lot of Bitcoin. Talking about around $1 billion worth, I think he mentioned in the billions. They wanted to know if he knew where they could get that kind of amounts of Bitcoin without going to the exchanges, because they didn't want, I mean, you can imagine if that kind of money goes into Bitcoin on the exchanges now, what it's going to do to the price. They're looking for private sellers that they can buy from without affecting the price. Because let's face it, the price of Bitcoin compared to our December last year high is still very low. It's a bargain at the moment. But obviously, if they can get it cheaper, they will too. But that is my take on what's happening right now. Yeah, it's a bit of an unknown at the moment. I'm not going to go into any charting or anything else. I just thought I'd show you what has happened and the interesting bit of what happened over the weekend, and that sudden price that happened on a Thursday, which totally threw me out of whack anyway. But I think that's what my explanation was right. I think there's some big money trying to get in, and which also means that sooner or later, even the weaker of the strong hands we're going to run out of them, and people are going to say, now if you want my Bitcoin, you're going to pay for it. And then we're going to see the price go up. So let's wait and see what it does. I think we might still come and test this trend line. If we survive that, then I think the sky's the limit for Bitcoin. Now on the Dignity front, the Dignity token, we had depending on how you look at it, we had some bad news, I suppose you can call it that, over the weekend. We got from the Arbitrade and Cryptobontix official website, we got an email with some news which didn't really go well with a lot of investors, especially the trader investors who bought into the Dignity token to make some quick money. They're finding now that they're going to have to wait a little bit longer before the token actually moons, as they say. I just want to go through the email and maybe discuss a couple of points with you. It says, "Good day from Arbitrade and Cryptobontix. We would like to start by apologizing for the delay on this announcement, as we are waiting for some of the details right up until the end of business today. For the past week, our advisors and management have been in constant meetings with regulators in a couple of different countries. Similar meetings will transpire in additional countries over the next 3 weeks. Today we wanted to update everyone on where we stand and why we are taking the approach that we are. Internally, we have been calling this the year of legislation, where all cryptocurrencies are in flux and no one knows exactly where it's all going to end up. What we can say is that we are very aware that many countries are pro-cryptocurrency and the opportunities that the blockchain represents for governments, banking and industry. That being said, our advisors and management have been working with several countries to assist this process along. Our approach is that Arbitrade will domicile in one country, and we call this Arbitrade Core." Now, that is the first time I've heard that term used, but I think it only refers to their headquarters and where they plan to be domiciled eventually, and they're not going to have a distributed network of offices and everything else. I think they're going to be very centralized, very compact and strategically positioned business. All the bullion that Cryptobontix Arbitrade requires or acquires will be mainly vaulted in this domicile country. We have good reasons for our decision to change from mainly being vaulted globally to our home domiciled location, which we will release details later on, or on later. Now, that is a very important bit of information for me. Owning or storing physical gold is, on one side, it is definitely probably your best store of value up until cryptocurrencies have come along. It is probably still, even with cryptocurrencies, it is having a stash of gold somewhere, hidden away somewhere in a vault, at home, wherever. As long as you can hold it, you have value. But as we've seen in the past, governments have banned the private owning of gold before. It is possible that gold in private hands could be confiscated at some point in the future. And for those of you that follow Cliff High on his YouTube channel and the videos he makes, he has alluded to the possibility of gold being confiscated sometime in the future. And I think with Cryptobontix and Arbitrade choosing the location that they are aiming at, I think it probably gives them the safest haven for a private stash of gold. They're looking after our best interests. Because Arbitrade and the Cryptobontix tokens are planned to be global entities, we have been seeking the following from every country in the world to be: they must be incorporated, insured, securitized, and licensed. So basically what they're saying is that they want their cryptocurrency to form part of the local, in those areas, and global economy. They must become like fiat currency, because if we look at what the original white paper said, I know we haven't got the latest one yet, but the original white paper said their tokens will be as useful at the end of the day as fiat currency. We will have a debit card, we will have the ability to pay peer-to-peer and exchange any cryptocurrency for any other cryptocurrency or fiat currency on the fly. So in essence, there will be very little difference on the outside that we see between cryptocurrencies and fiat currency. So you can understand why they want all of these criteria to be met in, well, every country where the tokens are going to be used. The global rollout will occur over an extended period, as there are many countries making plans to adopt cryptocurrencies but are slow to move forward as a result of current government processes. These corporate and licensed entities in each country will be subsidiaries of Arbitrade Core. This means we will be able to operate in every country under their individual regulations and tax laws, so that we are 100% compliant. These guys, as I've said long before, we know that they never did an ICO to raise funds. These guys are fully funded. They have law firms and everything else working for them. These guys are trying to do everything by the book. They don't want even the slightest opportunity of being banned in any country or penalized or shut down, at worst case scenario being shut down by the SEC or wherever. They are working with every government, every institution, every regulatory body that might have anything to do with currency in any way or securities in any way, and they are trying to make it a legitimate means of payment and currency throughout the world. They're not messing around here. So due to the fact that they have spent all this kind of money and taken this amount of time and are prepared to wait even longer to get things right, means that, for one, they are definitely funded. They're not short of money. They want to do things right. These guys are ethical and they are meticulous. So I think we are in safe hands. I think they're going to do well when they launch. It's a pity that this delay has come, which I'm going to get to now. But I don't think it's going to be too long, and I think it'll be well worth the wait. Where are we? As of yesterday, we have been granted the ability to announce the Arbitrade Cryptobontix ICO launch. Now, the details on May the 11th, 2018. This will include Arbitrade Cryptobontix's 6 tokens, coins, and the details surrounding this, including which countries can participate. We can also announce the operational launch of Arbitrade Exchange and the initial launch countries for the platform. Now, this ICO has got nothing to do with the coins themselves. It is to do with the Arbitrade exchange itself, and we'll get into that a little bit closer to the time. Going on further, if a person wishes to participate with Arbitrade and is not in one of the participating countries listed, they can still sign up to Arbitrade, but will have a restricted account until October the 1st, 2018, when we plan to be open to most of the world. That all goes down to what they are trying to do now, negotiating with all the governments to become approved in all these countries. But obviously not all of them are going to be approved right away. And there will always be some sticklers who lag behind. So we've just got to make place for them, make provisions for them. Between the scheduled announcement on May the 11th and October the 1st, the Arbitrade advisors and management will be introducing new countries that have passed legislation and approved Arbitrade to operate in their countries as we advance. Clearly, there are those countries that we will not be able to operate in because of their non-support towards cryptocurrencies presently. That's been discussed already. The partners, staff, management, board of directors all feel that the entire world will eventually come online and accept cryptocurrencies as a standard way to invest and use as a secondary payment method. But we also know this could take as long as 5 years to happen. That's quite normal. There are plenty of countries who vehemently oppose cryptocurrency and trying to keep the fiat currency alive. As we've seen, it's not working. Fiat currency is failing all over the world. You only have to look at Venezuela to see that. They sit on the world's largest oil reserves, yet they are fighting in the streets over food. As most that follow the crypto sector are aware, there has been a lot of ups and downs with regulations and approvals. In some cases, licenses were approved only to be revoked by authorities because they simply didn't understand that what they were approving. Arbitrade has taken the approach to completely educate governments and banks about the strength and benefits of the cryptocurrency sector. Arbitrade management wants them to be 100% fully aware of what they are approving with the company licenses and securitization. This is a huge problem, even in with educated governments and so on. Cryptocurrency is taking off and advancing at such a pace that people just don't understand it. Most people don't understand it. It is a totally foreign language to them. They just don't understand it. You talk about blockchain, they have no idea what it is. And I can understand these people are trying to educate the people who make the decisions and the legislators who really don't know what they are approved or expected to approve or disapprove. They don't understand it. And as you see, Cryptobontix and Arbitrade have obviously been going to these people and trying to educate them, which we all know is a absolutely laborious task, and in a lot of cases they will probably fail due to some people's inability to want to understand. It's just the way it is. Since the release of the original white paper, which most of our followers have read, we have made large advancements. We have successfully connected with banks so that our users can literally transfer funds into and out of Arbitrade with ease. As we move into the new countries, we will find more of these partnering banks that wish to expand their operations and see the value of what we are doing. This also allows the sending of fiat or cryptocurrency, including other cryptocurrencies, anywhere in the world faster than any other method to date and directly to the recipient. The recipient doesn't even require the ownership of an account on the Arbitrade platform prior to the recovery of the money. This is pretty interesting. Even though you are not a member or will not be a member of Arbitrade, you can still receive either fiat currency, money, or any cryptocurrency. I like the way that they emphasize that any other cryptocurrency, it doesn't matter which one, you'll be able to receive it via the Arbitrade exchange, which is extremely handy. And the way that they are going to do it is pretty interesting. It's going to make people want to become a member of Arbitrade and to use the exchange. It's a built-in growth hormone, put it that way. It's an incentive for people to want to join. It's very interesting and very clever at the end of the day, I suppose. We know this news may not be what everyone wanted to read for the dates and release, but we must be cautious and respect government's laws and regulations globally so that everyone can enjoy the Arbitrade system and tokens for a long time to come. There you have it. I'm a member of one of the Telegram groups, and after this letter came out, people were mad. People were not happy. The price of Dignity reflected that. It has come down substantially. It has recovered slightly, but it came down substantially. And I think over the next couple of weeks, however long it takes before we get the next news or something big happens, I think the price might still drop a little bit. There is no real incentive or reason at the moment for the price to go up. A lot of people are skeptical of what's happening, although most of them, I find, they believe in what is happening. They're just not happy that deadlines weren't met. Nobody is, neither am I. But I think we can understand where they're coming from. It's unfortunate, it's one of those things. We leave you on the progress of our mining operations. Below are before and after photos of the 100,000 square foot warehouse we have leased in order to initiate our mining operations, and the other is a video displaying the multiple skids or pallets of mining rigs already delivered to the facility, with more being delivered every day. That was just some photos of basically just pallets on the floor with heaps of boxes on them, obviously containing the mining rigs and everything else. But so that's it. We're not happy about it, but you know, I keep a loose, call it a loose eye on the Telegram groups, and you see everybody ask every now and again, when Moon or when Lambo. Everybody thinks that they're going to be going out and buying Lambos when this all takes off, and I suppose a lot of them will be. There's going to be a lot of money to be made here for sure, especially those holding big bags of Dignity token and the other tokens when they launch as well. So yeah, people were not happy over the weekend, but I think they'll get over it. And if Cryptobontix or Arbitrade feeds us or feeds their members information on a regular basis, keeps in touch, keeps the communication going, I think this doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be a good thing. We're just going to have to wait a little bit longer to Moon for our Lambos. Anyway, that's it for me today. Let's get out there and make some bucks.